What's going on, beautiful people? This is your man, Mr. Valentine here, and I just want to talk to y'all briefly about simplifying or reducing fractions. About a week ago, when we were leaving for Thanksgiving break, we went over finding equivalent fractions. And we know that to find the equivalent fraction, we can multiply our numerator and denominator by the same number to find an equivalent fraction. And y'all all have notes on that. So today I want to focus on simplifying or reducing fractions. And what does that simply mean? It means that we're just going to put a fraction into its lowest terms, or put it into a term where you use less pieces as far as with the denominator. So for instance, we will have 18 total pieces, right? For our denominator with 12/18ths. But I want to see if I can find a fraction that's equivalent to 12/18ths that uses less pieces for the denominator. So how do my steps, or what are the steps to doing this? Well, it's very simple. The thing that we have to do for these is first, I need to find the greatest common factor for both of those. And so GCF just stands for greatest common factor. Okay, so we need to find the greatest common factor, but also after I do that, I want to then divide the numerator and denominator by the GCF. Right. And so if you really know your multiplication facts, and your factors, if you remember everything that we did with prime and composite numbers, this is going to be a breeze for you, baby. So let's go ahead and see what happens when I actually do this. So I'm going to make a list of all the factors for 12, and I'm going to make a list for all the factors for 18. So my factors for 12, and you can go ahead along and do it at the house too while I'm doing it, are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. So those are all my factors for 12, right? And each one should have a partner that they're buddied up with. So what are my factors for 18? 1. And remember, every number has 1 as a factor. If it's an even number, 2 is always a factor. 2, 3, 6, 9, and 18. So when I say find the greatest common factor, what that means is that I want to find the number that they have in common for both of them, 12 and 18. And for that, it is 6. So now that I know that a common factor they both have is 6, I'm just going to take my 12 and my 18, and I'm going to divide them both by 6. And remember, when we divide them both by like the 6/6, that's basically saying like it's divided by 1. So that's how we can find those equivalent fractions, right? So 12 divided by 6 is equal to 2, and 18 divided by 6 is equal to 3. So reducing or simplifying 12/18ths, that would give us 2/3. Let's do one more example, okay? And we don't have to do big numbers. The point is just for us to understand the process for both of them, right? And so what if I do then something simple? How about 5/10, right? So I need to list my factors for both 5 and 10. Now check this out. If you are really good with your math facts, guys, there's steps you can skip. That's the beautiful thing about math. The better you get at it, the more of these steps that you can combine or end up skipping, right? So 5 is a prime number. So the only factors I know for 5 are 1 and 5. 10 is an even number. So every number except for 2 that's even is a composite number. So it's going to have more than 2 factors, right? So my factors for 10 are 1, 2, 5, and 10. Okay, so here's a little Dora the Explorer moment. Do you see what the greatest common factor is? Okay. Just a little joke for y'all if y'all ever watched Dora the Explorer. So our Blues Clues or anything like that when you were younger. So there we have 5 is my greatest common factor. So what do I do with that? I divide my numerator and my denominator by 5. And what do I end up with? 1 half. So people, you're gonna need to know how to simplify fractions simply because that's the last step when we add or subtract fractions with unlike denominators or even with like denominators. We can always reduce them to their lowest terms. So make sure you get a lot of practice on that today in the Boom Deck. Love and peace. What's up, beautiful people? This is your man, Mr. Valentine here. And today I'm going to talk to you about adding and subtracting fractions with dun 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 unlike denominators, y'all. So over the last couple of days, we've been talking about adding and subtracting with like denominators. So this time we're going to have to change it up and get ready for our 5th grade teach with adding and subtracting with unlike denominators. So let's look at this problem right here. We have 1/2 plus 1/3. As you can see, our denominators are not the same. So I can't do nothing with them right now, okay? So what will I do? And here are the steps that I'm going to take to solve this problem and the steps I want you to take to solve a problem like this also. So first thing that we need to do is we need to find the lowest common denominator. Then we're going to change the numerator. Then we're going to do respectively, we're going to add or subtract, and then lastly, simplify. In the last video, I talked about simplifying, so you could be able to find that also in your playlist. So here it is. I'm going to use that 1/2 and that 2/3 again for my problem. So I have 1/2 plus 1/3. So when I'm finding the lowest common denominator, that means I need to list the multiples for my denominators, okay? And this is my little symbol I use for denominator, the fraction bar and a D underneath it. So list the multiples for your denominator, okay? So what does that look like? It looks like this. If I list my multiples for my denominator for 2, I'm gonna get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and I go on and on and on and on. Now if I wanna list my ones for 3, I have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and I can go on and on and on and on with that one. But if you're paying attention, you will see that they already have something in common, right? So what is the lowest common multiple that they have, or the lowest common denominator that they would have? Well, dun, 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 it would be this 6. That is the first one that they have that is the same. So what does that mean I need to do now? I need to then find my equivalent fractions for that. So step number 2 would be changing the numerator. So what do I do then? I have my 1/2 is going to be equal to something over 6, and my 1/3 is going to be equal to something over 6. Now, if you did the PowerPoint from about a week ago, hint, hint, that is for grade, then you need to know from that that we can do this. How did I go from 2 to 6? What did I multiply by? Right, I multiplied by 3. So 2 times 3 equals 6. So I do the same thing up here. I say 1 times 3, right? And that's going to give me 3. So that's an equivalent fraction. Do you see that? Good. Same thing here. How did I go from 3 to 6? What did I multiply by? Times what? 2. I can do the same here. Times 2. So 1 times 2 is 2. So now I have my new fractions here. Okay, I can solve my problem with. So only thing I do now is just that I solve, right? So I say my new fractions, 3, 6 plus 2, 6. And what does that equal? Well, I don't add my denominators. Remember, we don't add those. We don't subtract those. And that gives me 5, 6. And so you know this is already in its lowest term. So those are the steps we use when we're adding and subtracting with unlike denominators. Let's go ahead and do one more. Let's spice it up. So let's do another one before we leave and go on the road here. What if I have something like this? These thirds are easy to work with. What if I have 2/3 plus 1/5, right? So I'm gonna list my multiples for each one of them. And guess what? If you know your math facts, this becomes super easy too, right? Because I have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, right? And for my fives, I have 5, 10, 15, 20. Do you already see it? Yeah, you do. Because my lowest common multiple for my denominator is going to be 15, right? So now I can change my fractions. I have 2/3 going to be equal to something over 15. And 1/5 will be equal to something over 15 also, right? So how did I go from 3 to 5? I multiply by 5. I do the same thing here. And that gives me what? 10. Good job, y'all. Now, how do I go from 5 to 15? I times it by 3. So I do the same up here. And that gives me 3. Now I can take my two fractions and add them together, yes? So I do 10/15 plus 3/15, and that equals 13/30, right? No, because we don't add our denominators. Denominator stays the same. Now we have 13/15, and once again, that one's already simplified too. So make sure you practice your math facts if that's something if that's something that you struggle with. I can't speak. If that's something that you struggle with, then this is going to become a problem for you also, because you need to know your math facts for simplifying them and just for converting them and changing them with the lowest common denominators. So make sure you practice today. Love and peace.